This was one of the hardest things for me to let go of when I was deconstructing from Christianity. And that is the idea that my grandmother, Isabel Ross, was not looking down from heaven and watching over me. I'm a person who does not like to attend funerals. I don't want my last memory of someone that I cared about to be in a box. So I often don't go to funerals. I go to the repast, but I'm not going to funerals. But when I was a Christian, one of the hardest things for me to let go of was the fact that my grandmother was not in heaven looking down on me, because I wanted to believe that. It gave me comfort, just as it gives millions of people comfort all over the world. The idea that they will see their families again, that I will see my grandmother, my Uncle Denon, my Aunt Darlene, my grandfather, my father, that I will see them again. This was a comforting message until I started reading the Bible. And I started reading the Bible more and more and more. And as more I came to understand it, I didn't want to let go of Christianity because I wanted it to be true that I would see my grandmother again, my first love. I wanted to see her again. But what does the Bible say about this? Well, of course, if you go by most biblical scholars and teachers and, well, not scholars, but biblical apologists, then they will tell you that you will see your parents, your loved ones again, that they're looking over, watching over you as guardian angels. Irenaeus, one of the early church fathers, said that one of the greatest things of heaven is to look over the edge of heaven and see those being tormented by the devil. That there will be a gleaming city of gold, and we will all have mansions and rooms in the mansions of the Father. But the more and more I read the Bible, the more I found these things to be contradictory. You see, Jesus, while he was on the cross, told the thief that on this day you will be in heaven with me. If you read according to Peter, First Peter, Jesus in those 3 days that he was in the grave went and spoke to the spirits in prison. And many have translated this to mean that Jesus went and spoke to those who were dwelling in Abaddon. But then Luke says that he went to Abraham's bosom where all the saints were. Now, in the ancient cosmology of this all, Abaddon and Abraham's bosom were across from each other, but never able to touch, never able to be one in the same. This is why the rich man who goes to Abaddon was asking the poor man who was in Abraham's bosom if he could just drop a drip of water on his tongue because he was so parched. And many Christians believe this is where Jesus went. And then when Jesus rose, of course, there were 500 zombies walking around Jerusalem. But after that, the belief based on the teachings of Paul, the writings of John of Patmos, teaches that at the end, that there will be those, and according to the teachings of Jesus, that there will be those who will not taste death of that generation. And this is why Paul thought that Jesus would return during his lifetime. Taught people to not get married unless you burn with lust for sex. That you should be living your life because Jesus is going to return before he dies. But he did not return. And this is why the Bible says that those who are, let the dead bury the dead, and those who are dead do not have knowledge of anything. Paul and Jesus are both teaching that when you die, you do not automatically go to heaven or to the lake of fire, that you are in what became known as soul sleep, that the dead are just waiting for the rapture or waiting for the battle of Megiddo, Armageddon. John of Patmos in his writings of Revelations also teaches this very same thing, that once the battle of Armageddon has been waged and won by Jesus, that then the seas will give up their dead and the graves will give up their dead and people will rise up into the clouds and go into this new city of Jerusalem and live with God, forever praising him for all eternity while cherubim fly around his head, singing holy, 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 and that the tree of life is present, and 12 of them, and they will provide fruit. in seasons, once per month in season. So, based on the Bible, the true understanding of it is that my grandmother does not have any consciousness of understanding or of life and existence and what's going on with me in my life right now. That if the Christianity is correct, if the Bible is right, then she is in a state of soul sleep. And she will not know what happened in my life until Armageddon. But that is not the doctrine that most believe in today. There's the doctrine that your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors are watching over you. They're looking, they're guiding you, they're intercessory praying for you. This is a Catholic version of Christianity. This is the original version of Christianity from what becomes the Protestants and everything else and every other version of Christianity you have today. Even your Ethiopian Bible, your Ethiopian Christianity, was derived from the bishops Frumentius coming out of Alexandria, Egypt, who they followed in line with what was being taught in Rome with the Orthodox Christians. They just so happened to canonize their Bible before the Orthodox in Rome canonized their Bible. And therefore they have 88 books versus the 66 books. But they still have the ancestral venerations, the ancestors watching over you, the ancestors intercessory praying for you. When the truth of the matter is, no one's praying for you. No one's in heaven. It doesn't exist. The reality is that when you leave this life, unless you're my hope, because there is no proof, we can derive the idea by looking at science and like quantum physics and quantum entanglement and suggest that your consciousness, if it maintains its cohesiveness, will manifest and create whatever afterlife it decides to create, because as particles are observed, they respond and react based on what the observer desires. So if your consciousness maintains cohesion, then it will manifest whatever out of the particle streams of the universe, the energy of the universe, what your consciousness believes to be true. But it will happen then, not now. Then, not now. But in all accounts, since there is no proof of any of that, it is most likely that your consciousness, whatever energy it is made of, simply disbands, simply becomes part of all the other flowing energy of the universe. This is called transmutation, where it just becomes a different source, a different type of energy that flows through the universe, not conscious nor aware of itself, not having consciousness, period. Therefore, not creating any realities. Therefore, because we have no proof of that, I would suggest that what you try to do is to raise the vibration of your mind, your consciousness, to understand the universe and how it functions, to be the best variation of you that you can possibly be, to be the most impactful person that you can be on this world, this universe, to live a reality filled with grandeur, a reality filled with love, peace, understandings that there's no such thing as race or nations, that religions are control mechanisms created by man, and they are forever evolving from religion to relationship. If you do that, and this is all that there is, you would have lived a wonderful life. But if you do that, and for some strange reason, beyond our scientific knowledge, your consciousness maintains cohesion, then you create your afterlife, so to speak. Because you don't remember a life before you were born, before you were you, a life after you. You won't even be you. You be something else, because there'll be a whole nother level of experiences. So what do you guys think? Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.